Kingdom Come Deliverance II actor says if you don't like wokeness in gaming, you're, quote, not necessarily into gaming. Roll this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below if you'd like to read yourself. But in an interview with BBC alongside fellow actor Tom McKay, who plays Henry in the game, Luke Dale, the actor who plays Hans Capon, was asked about the backlash the game received for pushing woke ideology by promoting sodomy, including the character Musa Mali, after the game's creative director Daniel Vavra had previously claimed there were no black people in Bohemia while promoting the first Kingdom Come Deliverance. So to be clear, Vavra wrote this back in 2015. He says, "Would you please explain to me what's racist about telling the truth? There were no black people in medieval Bohemia." He even stated that there were no non-white people in northern Western Europe, in a back and forth with this person here, Aegis, who I think is a video game journalist, because he asked, so now you're saying there weren't any non-white people in a gigantic landmass in northern Western Europe? And Vavra says, yes, I am, because they weren't. Furthermore, Warhorse Studios community manager Christian Piatek previously noted that Henry was not a homosexual and did not engage in sodomy when promoting the first game. He wrote on YouTube, but you will play as Henry, the son of a blacksmith, and yes, he is straight and white and male and from Bohemia. Very clearly stated there on their YouTube channel 8 years ago while promoting the first game. Nevertheless, this is what Dale said when asked about the backlash of the sodomy scene, as well as the inclusion of Musa of Mali. And he told the BBC, I think it's quite an interesting thing that's happened. With the first game, there was a backlash from a more left-wing mentality, and then there's been something of a backlash this time around from the right-wing mentality. He then indicated that no one has discussed these topics to him McKay then indicated that no one has discussed these topics to him in person, saying it's a really good barometer of the distortion between online interaction and real-world interaction. We did 9 hours, and it didn't come up once. I'm not sure how that's a barometer. Not everyone is going to be showing up to you, and people who probably are not liking the game are not going to be showing up and talking to you about their dislike for the game. I'm assuming he's talking about some kind of fan convention that he was at. So this is just kind of a bizarre statement trying to spin a narrative that there's somehow some kind of disconnect between people. And it's clearly used to front load this, right? Because then Dale said, if you oppose woke ideology being injected into the game via the promotion of sodomy, as well as Musa of Mali, you're not interested in gaming. He says, I think to be honest with you, the people that are true big fans of gaming and this game aren't bothered about that sort of stuff. It seems to be people that are really politically involved and they care very much about politics and not gaming, and they've used this as a weapon, but they're not necessarily into gaming. So if you don't want sodomy in your video games, you're just not into gaming. If you don't want people lying to you, you're just not into gaming. That's how I'm interpreting what this guy is saying. It's so disingenuous. It's so dishonest. And we've seen this before. And it comes from Daniel Vavra himself. It comes from Daniel Vavra himself. He posted this on social media, February 4, a week ago. This person asks, was this even necessary, referring to the sodomy scene? And Vavra said, don't buy the game. Well, who said this before? Woke ideologue Kelly Sudaconic back in 2017. She told Sci-Fi Wire this. Let's just take a listen.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
There you go. If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. And that gets back to this idea that this guy is saying here. It seems to be, Luke Dale says, it seems to be people that are really politically involved and they care very much about politics and not gaming, and they've just used this as a weapon, but they're not necessarily into gaming. Well, who put sodomy in the game? Who put Musa of Mali in the game? It wasn't the gamers that you're saying aren't into gaming. It was you, Daniel Vavra, and Warhorse Studios. You're the ones who put that into the game. And you're trying to now make gamers your enemy. Gamers who are opposed to this stuff, your enemy, saying, you're just not into gaming if you don't like this stuff. I mean, what a sick and twisted person to try to gaslight like this. But this is what we see all the time from these woke ideologues. They're always gaslighting. So obviously, we just went over what Kelly Sudaconic said. Later in the interview, she also says, I'm going to make the book that I'm going to make, and if you don't want to read them, don't read them. Daniel Vavra right here includes sodomy in his game. If you don't like it, don't buy the game. That's what he's saying right there. And we also saw this from Shuti Gatwa during the promotion for the recent run of Doctor Who just last year. He told Variety, don't watch, turn off the TV, go and touch grass. Please, for God's sake, is what he said. If you didn't like his casting, didn't like the way he was going to be depicted in Doctor Who, didn't like the transgender agenda, didn't like the LGBTQ plus agenda in that show, don't watch, turn off the TV. So this is what woke ideologues do all of the time. They gaslight you. They try to shame you. And it hadn't been working for a while. But for whatever reason, this game seems to have found some success over on Steam. They announced that it had already 1 million sales. And then I think its peak concurrent is something like 280,000 or something like that. So obviously it has found success. It is, I think, an exception because we've seen over the last year how many woke video games failed. Dragon Age the Veilguard, Star Wars Outlaws, Concord, etc. They had all failed. So we know that there are clearly a lot of people who don't want this in their video games. So obviously we have to maybe dive into this a little bit, maybe do that at a different time to figure out what really happened here, why people decided to embrace this game when it has all of this woke stuff happening in it as well. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. What do you make of Luke Dale saying that if you oppose wokeness in video game, you're just not necessarily into gaming? What do you make of what he had to say there? Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth. And never forget that everything woke turns to crap. Sometimes it might just take a little bit longer than others.